Now we're going to do a long-term wetting test comparing our regular 900 fill power untreated down to expedry hydrophobic down, which is a hydrophobic treatment that's fairly new to the market. So previously we had determined in other tests that short-term dunking of these chambers didn't really result in wetting down, whether it's treated or not. And then during the long-term tests, we noticed that the synthetic chambers fared much better. The down chamber did have some loft loss, but we found that it was quite a bit less than I expected. It still was holding on to quite a bit of loft just being in contact with the water, and it didn't have a catastrophic loss of loft until it was compressed after being wetted. So we're going to do that long-term test between untreated and treated expedry. Okay. Well, I forgot these yesterday, and they've been sitting in this water for quite a bit longer than intended. About 23 hours to be exact, but that's okay. It should be pretty obvious here that we're not doing exact science in a controlled laboratory. We're sort of generally just simulating real-world scenarios and observing major differences. So let's take a look. Okay, so both chambers, the 900 fill untreated and the 900 fill expedry treated, both still have pretty good loft. Honestly, they both seem about on par with the last test, where there was a little bit of loft loss on the side that was against the water, but above that the water just didn't really travel through the loft, and the top side is still dry. Kind of, I'd say the same thing with the expedry. It's we're talking about if there is a difference between the two at this point. I can't tell, and I'm not doing exact science here. I'm not measuring how much water has been absorbed, and these chambers aren't even exactly the same size, so I'm just observing differences, and I can't tell if there is a difference at this point. They both still have functional loft. So on to the next phase. We're gonna compress both of these into this little plastic bag to simulate what would happen if you took a system that got wet, or a down item that got wet, and then packed it in your backpack for the day and pulled it back out. All right. Let's have a look. Okay. This is our expedry chamber. This is our untreated chamber. I'd say right out of the bag we have, these are both pretty much flat. Yeah, these are flat. Okay, after just a couple of minutes of after pulling these out of the plastic bag where they were compressed for 20 hours while wet, it does seem that the expedry chamber is bouncing back a little bit. Like I said, these have been out for a couple of minutes, and I've just been kind of gently tapping each of them like this to try to get the plumes of down off of the wet shell, just so that they can, if they have the potential to loft up, they can. And I'd say that the expedry has just a bit more loft than the untreated chamber. Again, these are imprecise observations, but I can definitely tell you that both of these are significantly flatter than the synthetic and how they fared in this test. But I am observing a little bit more loft coming back in the expedry versus the untreated. After about 2.5 hours of drying time for these two chambers, they seem to be about at the same level. Most of the loft is recovered. So I don't know if there's much difference between the untreated and the expedry. It sort of seemed like the expedry chamber came out of the compression sac a little bit loftier, but not by a lot. It's kind of difficult to tell, and it also, obviously, these chambers are not exactly the same size, so the smaller one is likely to dry a little bit quicker and possibly loft up a little bit quicker. So not totally apples to apples. And so if there was a difference, it was pretty difficult to tell. It was pretty marginal.